Good evening, class. Today I'm going to be presenting on a client that I have been working with for a while, a 31-year-old African American male who has graduated from college and works from home doing some IT and some purchasing online. I was not able to continue working with the client that I had presented on last time as she has not come back, which I kind of guessed based on her wanting that emotional support animal evaluation. Nonetheless, I've had about 5 sessions with the client that I am currently working with and currently presenting on. And in the initial session, he came in and shared that he felt like he had bipolar disorder. It was not something that he was previously diagnosed with, but I guess over time with a little research, he felt like he has noticed that he exemplifies symptoms of mania and anger, as well as he's told me that he felt like there were times where he spent lots of money on certain hobbies but became quickly disinterested. He reported having had therapy once before and just shared that he didn't know how helpful he thought it was, so he stopped. He shared that he has actually been diagnosed with ADHD before, but he was taking medication, but he's not sure what medication he was on, and that he might have been self-medicating by drinking, as he shared with me that he could possibly have 10 drinks all in one night. And he wanted to know initially when he came in whether, it would be the therapist's opinion to refer him to a psychiatrist. However, he really wanted to try alternative methods to medication versus taking the actual pills. He was born to a young mother, sharing that his mother was about 16 or so when she had him, as well as his father. He reported having grown up or was born in Kansas and kind of grew up in Kansas, and that his father was not around due to him being really young, and that he was very close with his excuse me, his aunt, who was raised like one of his sisters due to his aunt being younger than him. He also reported that he is very close with a lot of his grandparents, as everyone had children at a very young age, so his grandparents are still fairly young themselves. And he shared that he pretty much cut his father off after remembering a really bad memory he had once while he spent time with his father growing up. And he just kind of described his father as weird. And he shared that he's just really not that close with anyone in his family, and that he does not talk to his mother on a normal basis. He is reported to be single and shared that he just moved to Georgia again after having living in Georgia quite some time before due to a breakup. He shared that he had moved to Florida with a girlfriend and that it just didn't really work out well. However, he was kind of unable to identify all the factors of why it didn't work out. I believe he just didn't really want to speak in a negative light about the situation. In terms of his assets, I believe that the client is very goal oriented in terms of wanting to accomplish personal goals. He's very driven. He also, is done, although we have not had many sessions, he's pretty much done tremendously well in learning to find a new balance for himself with his work and his personal life. He also shared that, he, really just is very well organized, when he talks about different things in his life that he's putting together. One of the concerns for myself that I see that could be a liability is just that he often cancels his sessions He shared that he would like to be seen at least twice a month after pretty much canceling many of his sessions before. Um, so sometimes I have a hard time understanding, you know, if he really wants therapy, if he kind of just wants, a sounding board, or not so much as a sounding board, but just someone to talk to here and there versus actually wanting to get like any real therapeutic services. I've had many times where I've kind of just asked him about his goals, and he just often talks about working out or, finding a healthy balance and, eating healthier. So that has been one of my concerns, is that he often will cancel the session. So it just kind of makes me wonder, how committed he is, and what place he's at in the therapy stage of, of wanting to progress with his therapy services. I had initially diagnosed him with bipolar disorder, current or most recent episode, depressed, unspecified, as he often talked about, his lack of relationships with friends and, kind of being a little bit sad about the breakup with the girlfriend, and just kind of going off of his own symptoms of what he expressed about having bipolar, with the mania. However, excuse me, through our sessions, although they've been very infrequent, I have not yet to notice any particular symptoms of bipolar. I know he shared with me that he feels like he has a lot of anger as well, just kind of dealing with mostly his work and just kind of being disappointed when people don't follow through with what he expected them to do. I diagnosed him with generalized anxiety disorder, as he shared a lot about why he has a lack of social, social activities that he engages in. He's kind of shared that he doesn't like, big crowds or going certain places or being around so many different people. And that he's, had a time or two, had a couple panic attacks and whatnot. I also diagnosed him with alcohol use disorder based on his past of sharing, how often he would drink, and how, I'll share a little bit later in the sessions that, that was the only time he could really get out his emotions and his feelings. But, he just shared that he didn't really know when to cut it off, that, once he started drinking, he just would kind of continue to drink. In terms of the SPAMO goals, the client just reported that he wanted to continue again to work on to finding a balance between his work life and his social life. He appears to be a workaholic, and will work more than 8 to 10 hours a day. He reported that many of his customers or his clients are overseas, and so there's not a real set time in terms of when he's no longer working. And then being that he works from home, he has a hard time cutting off when to stop working. He shared later on, as I kind of reevaluated his goals with him, that he just kind of wants to be held accountable, that he feels like he has a hard time committing to wanting to accomplish certain things that he has. He shared that he has a calendar of different ventures and business plans that he would like to work on, but he's having a hard time really sitting down to focus on them. So with him wanting to reach his goals, he continues to still talk about working out, eating healthy, and not stressing so much over work. Due to him just kind of being more at a private practice setting, the plans and the interventions aren't super strict. I just try to kind of follow him and his pace of what he's willing to work on. However, I do try to give him some homework assignments, and reiterate ways for him to continue to build upon having a social life, obviously not surrounding alcohol, but just to really engage some of his friends and his family. So one of the homework assignments I gave him was to sort of draw a picture to help him reflect his goals, where he wanted to be and what age he wanted to be that, by that time, to really help him to manifest that these things can come true, and to really help him give him a realistic expectation of when they can happen instead of, happening tomorrow. Often we talk and he shares like, only thing that would make him happy is, buying a house and, having his business together. And often I think that he has a little bit of an unrealistic expectation that he thinks that can happen, all tomorrow, so to speak. I kind of put, as I was sitting here kind of going through things, I've kind of been struggling with working with him for a little bit of time and getting much needed supervision about him, that I've come to the point of thinking that he's in the contemplation stage. Just because, like I said, he's often canceling the sessions and whatnot. And, sometimes I find it hard that he is, what am I looking for? What word? That he is committed, so to speak. But it's really interesting because he is the type of client that really likes not to talk the whole session. He's very quiet at times and will pause. He will think about his answer before he responds, but he does like a lot of feedback in session as well. So when I do meet with him again, it's often interesting to find that I can tell he's really given some thought after the sessions of what we talked about, and he actually may come back and just really progress, and I'm always intrigued because the sessions are so few in between that he actually makes, great progress. This client has, denied wanting to have, or, not agreed upon having a video or audio session. So what I have done is kind of written up a summary of, each session that we have, just to give you guys a better understanding of, where we've come, where we've come from and where we're going in our sessions. So I just kind of marked them down, from the first to the fifth session. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have a session this past Saturday, but again, he canceled. And so he shared that he will not resume sessions probably for another 2 weeks. So a summary of our first session was more of an evaluative session of just kind of listening more to what his problems are and, what he's coming in therapy about. So, in the first session, he's pretty much discussing how his job can, be unsettling for him at times when other people don't subscribe to his way. He shared that, sometimes it's hard for him to take in the perceptions of others because he's so used to handling it a certain way. But he shared that, if the problems can be handled and the client is happy, that he can learn to adjust and, be fine with the people that he's managing. He also shared that, as I expressed before, that he still feels manic at times and that he crashes really hard, and all the things that he will buy, that it could be expensive for the new hobby, and that he'll initially take time out to try to, learn the hobby and, put hardcore deadlines on himself. But when he doesn't meet those deadlines, instead of going at a steady pace, he'll just get frustrated, find a new hobby, or he says pick up a book. He also shared that he just becomes very irritable at times when he's not able to complete things that he wants to do by a certain time. And, he has a lot of feelings of resentment, anger, and disappointment with others. He shared that, he didn't want to take things personally. However, he wants to enjoy his life, but he's just at this point in time not really sure how to go about that.